Hello and welcome back to the Creative Differences Podcast. On today's episode, we got strippers, we got assassins, we got basketball, we got comic book stuff. I'm Dallas, and I just found out that Colin hates women.
I'm Colin, and that was determined off mic, and it's complex. I don't hate women, but I can see where Dallas came to that conclusion. I'm digging myself into a
Interesting.
hole here.
That's a
Who
bad way to
else
respond
is
to
on
that.
this podcast?
And I'm Demi, and man, do I wish that Dallas hadn't started off our podcast with that. Welcome to another episode of the Creative Differences Podcast, your one-stop shop for movie reviews, Throwback Thursdays, and Fancast Fridays, and a number of other pop culture-related items. Today, as Dallas said, we will be reviewing a number of movies. I will try not to forget which ones as I'm listing them off right now. We are reviewing Zola, Gunpowder Milkshake, Space Jam: A New Legacy, and Disney Plus's Loki.
Yep. So many things. Maybe so little time. I don't know how long it's going to take.
I don't think we've
Neither
ever
do you.
reviewed this amount of stuff in one episode,
Yeah, it was a busy weekend.
not including
Shout out to
quarantine
content.
watches, because those don't count.
Right, that's the whole
Yeah.
thing about that. Also, you're wondering where Gabby is. Gabby is on the run because she killed a vaguely Eastern European thug, and his family is chasing her down. So good luck, Gabby. Hope you don't die.
I'm not gonna lie,
Anyway,
I didn't know
before we
what
get
that was
into it-
referencing until just now. I didn't know which movie you were referencing for that one.
What? I mean, what do you think of the movies that we watched?
Space
I just
Jam,
told
obviously.
you
Yeah.
there are 4 things that we are reviewing, and I'm forgetting
Right.
at least one every single time I think about it.
And how many of them have European? Never mind.
That's why I was lost. I was like, which one? What? Oh yeah, we're reviewing that.
To be fair, Colin, you don't know that Zola doesn't have that because you hate women and you didn't watch it. All right,
Okay.
anyway, moving on.
Jesus.
Before we get into it, please like and subscribe because the Don Cheeto algorithm isn't doing his job to help us out. So we need you to go ahead and do that for us.
Yeah, I
To be
wish
honest,
you
he's
would.
not very good at his job.
Right? Talk to us about Zola.
So, directed by Janixa Bravo, starring Taylor Page, Riley Keough, Nicholas Braun, and Coleman Domingo. The IMDb summary is a stripper named Zola embarks on a wild road trip to Florida. I'm going to preface this review by
All right.
saying the film opens with the quote, "Y'all want to hear a story about why me and this bitch here fell out? It's kind of long, but full of suspense. And man, is that accurate. Except the kind of long part because it's only an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's kind of short.
Zola is a thrilling ride, almost as wild. It's almost as wild as the tweet thread that it's based on. And trust me, I know I read that 148 tweet thread back when it first came out, and it was amazing. The story and the script really does
148 tweets?
Yeah, it's like 148 tweets.
Did someone compile it, or did you read it tweet by tweet?
Somebody did compile it, and I think I read the compilation, which you can all
Nice.
go out there right now on the internet and just read the compilation instead of going to Twitter. I highly recommend reading it because it's absolutely hysterical and captivating, and there is no story on Twitter that you will read that's better. It's an amazing story, and
All right.
the movie does, like, the story and the script of this movie really does justice to how engaging and captivating that thread was. It is not for the faint of heart. If you are sensitive to certain images on screen, you might not want to watch it. I was not prepared for the number of penises that I saw come on screen. I was not ready. I was not.
All right, good to know.
And I knew what the movie was about. So the entire cast is amazing. I've been watching Taylor Page for a while because she was on a show called Hit the Floor. And she's really grown as an actress, and you can really tell in this movie. And she really grounds this movie because she's the guide, I guess, through this entire story. Like the movie is kind of through her eyes. She's kind of like this, almost the straight man of the movie, even though it's not completely. I feel like the humor in this movie is really uncomfortable. Like, it's funny, but it's really uncomfortable. And she's kind of the straight man for that. Riley Keough is one of the best models turned actresses out there, and her transformation into Stephanie is incredible and unbelievable. Taylor Page called it her doing blackface, even though she's not actually painted black because she has to do the black scent in everything. It's really interesting.
She's like Iggy Azalea.
Yeah.
Got it.
Fun fact, Riley Keough also happens to be the granddaughter of Elvis Presley. Moving on, Nicholas Braun's Derek feels just as pathetic as his Twitter counterpart. And Coleman Domingo needs to be given his flowers because he is so amazing. He's such a good actor, and his role in this is just, oh my gosh, like he's really threatening in this.
Oh,
Like, something's a little shady and off about him when he first comes on screen. He does this thing, and it's in the tweet thread as well. He does this thing where when he gets angry, he drops back into like a Caribbean accent, but it's like a full on Caribbean accent. And it is so crazy because then
nice.
Coleman Domingo will just jump into it, and he's so good. He is such a good actor. And I've been a fan of his mostly because of Euphoria, so it was nice to see him in something where he has a bigger role.
You should watch Candyman when it comes out.
I'm not. I saw him in that trailer, and I was like, I wish I could watch this movie, but I can't. I really want to, but I can't.
Fine.
I really love that the movie doesn't feel sleek and glossy. Like the visuals are made to look really grainy as if you're witnessing it through like social media or through like a phone or like an old camera or something, which is really cool.
Cool.
Janixa Bravo really gets to experiment with the visuals, which is fun. It's a lot of fun, like watching smaller or like indie films because they get to do experimental stuff like that. And blockbuster movies never dare to do those things. And I kind of wish they would because it would make blockbuster movies so much more interesting to watch. Not to say that I
That's fair.
don't like blockbuster movies. I absolutely love them. They are usually what make up my top 10 favorite movies of the year, but it would be a lot more fun if they did like the really crazy experimental risky indie things that most of these directors make their start from. But yeah, Zola has that. It's really cool because
Sure.
like if they're showing you like the time of day in the movie, it shows up at the top of the screen in the same way that like your lock phone on your iPhone time looks like. And then when the time goes away from the top of
Nice.
the screen, it makes the same noise that your phone makes when you like that clicking sound when like you're shutting off the screen or
That's
Oh,
whatever.
cool.
cool.
And then whenever like a character is getting a text
I
message,
dig it.
like usually in media, whenever you're watching like somebody get a text message, you always see like the bubble text on like the corner of the screen or whatever so that you can read the text. In this movie, instead, what they do is you hear the chiming of the phone that you would usually get, and then also if they want you to know what the text says, they'll do like they'll cut back and forth between the two characters who are texting, and they'll have the characters read the text out loud as if they're like not like in the way that you would say it to an actual person in front of you, but the way that you would say it if you were like reading it and texting it at the same time. Like how you text and think
Yo,
at the
that's
same time?
excellent.
Yeah,
Mm,
it's great.
Yeah, that
interesting.
sounds great because I have trouble with that sometimes. If they show the text on the screen, like, oh shit, now I have to really focus in and read that. Like, that sounds like a great solution.
It's really cool and really creative, and I don't think I've seen a film do that. So yeah, that's Zola. You guys should check it out if you're into this wild, crazy story about this trip to Florida. Because, it also, it feels like it's one of Dallas's cautionary "don't go to Florida" stories.
Everything is. Florida sucks.
But yeah, that's my review of Zola. Next up, we can move on to Gunpowder Milkshake.
Gunpowder Milkshake. Mm. It is directed by Navot Papuchado, and it is written by Navot Papuchado and Ehud Lavsky. It stars Karen Gillan, Lena Headey, Chloe Coleman, Angela Bassett, and Michelle Yeoh, and Carla Gugino.
I was about to say, don't leave out Carla.
I was gonna make a joke. I was gonna save Carla Gugino for last and then make a joke, but I don't want to make that joke. It's not it's not a joke at her expense. She's great and I love her. Anyway, IMDb summary says 3 generations of women fight back against those who could take everything from them. It's pretty general,
Yeah, I was gonna say that's very general.
but it kind of makes sense. Yeah, I guess you could count Chloe Coleman as the last generation. She is a
She
kid
is.
and she's there, so
She's a kid and she's there.
she didn't do a whole lot of
Dallas,
fighting.
what did you think of the movie?
I liked it. It was fun. First off, I think it's always refreshing to watch a movie that's not part of an established franchise,
Yeah,
or at least not one that you know anything about. If it is,
original
because a lot of
movies.
things turn out to be part of a franchise. Yeah, but it's also jarring because you never know what you're gonna get yourself into. So I saw this movie's trailer and I thought, okay, cool, we're going for like John Wick, Atomic Blonde kind of vibes with the fighting and the neon. I'm with it. I didn't know how hard we'd go with the violence. The decapitation was a bit much. Like, when you're watching John Wick 3, by the time he's stabbing pencils in the dude's ears, you really, this is John Wick. I know what I'm getting into. But whenever you're starting a new franchise, it's like, who are they gonna? Oh, okay, cool. His head is gone. All right, that's what we're doing.
I forgot somebody gets
So
decapitated in this movie.
they sure do. Super violent, fun time. I put those things together, and that's kind of weird, but movies are violent. Movies are fun. What are you gonna do? To me, what do you think?
I thought it was an entertaining, very stylized action movie. I think the movie gets
Mm-hmm.
better for me once they actually start digging into Sam and Emily's relationship, because that's the emotional center, in my opinion. And I kind of wish that the movie had gotten to them sooner, because that's when I really started to care. And I think that's when you actually start to
Fair.
connect to the story, because you finally have characters to connect to. It's really like, it's so stylized that even the performances themselves are stylized, to the point where I was like, oh, you're not supposed to be acting natural. You're supposed to be acting like cool. Like, you're supposed to be cool. Every single
Yeah.
character, except for Chloe Coleman's
Or
character,
oh
because
yeah,
she's a
keep going.
child, and she's supposed to react naturally to things. And I thought that that kind of worked out later on for Karen Gillan's character, because Karen Gillan goes from playing it cool to playing it more naturally. Like, I believe that you're a human being now, because her character goes from being like
Mm.
super hard assassin to being a more like a person who's more in touch with her humanity.
Yeah, I feel like I do like these characters, but like what you're saying about them doing like a stylized performance, it feels like there isn't a whole lot of nuance to a lot of the characters.
Yeah.
Like, Lena Headey, you're gonna be the older badass who's always kind of on top of it. Like, you're gonna be in trouble, but we never really worry that you don't know what you're doing. And then Angela Bassett, you're gonna deliver all your lines like this and say, "Oh, ladies, it looks like we've seen a ghost," because you're
Yeah.
the old black woman in the library, and you have to be Angela Bassett. And then Carla Gugino is gonna be the most librarian of the librarians. Just be sweet and nice, and would you like a book? Because we have books here. And then Karen Gillan is gonna be the tortured soul, but with every tortured soul, not every tortured soul, because action movies don't put kids in them a whole lot, because don't do that. But she did it well. And I find it interesting whenever Karen Gillan has to do an American accent, because she does very often. She rarely gets to use her Scottish voice.
Yeah.
But she always seems to slip into her Nebula voice at least once or twice.
I
That's
felt
always
like that was
interesting to
the
me.
whole first half of the movie was her Nebula voice.
Well, it's like she does. There's some that feel even more like, oh, that's Nebula. Other than that, it was just the stoic badass kind of voice.
Yeah, it was weird, like, because I
But
felt like every character kind of talked the same, which kind of made it
mm,
hard to really, like, personality-wise, there wasn't too much of a personality difference between a lot of them, because they all work in the same profession, so they all kinda act the same. I mean, you made a good
mm,
point as to there being a difference between Angela Bassett, Carla Gugino, and Michelle Yeoh, but they all still kind of have that same demeanor across the board. For me, Lena Headey is just doing her Lena Headey thing, which is fine with me because I love Lena Headey. And I thought
fair.
that Angela Bassett, Carla Gugino, and Michelle Yeoh did the cool thing a lot cooler than Karen Gillan did. Also,
Fair.
yeah, I also really wanted more of like those three characters. I wish that there was way more of those three characters in this movie.
Yeah, so one thing about this movie is story-wise, it's a pretty typical action movie story, which is like I was saying, like, Gabby just got into the same situation. You kill the wrong person's family member, usually their son, and now that person is sending an army of goons to be killed by our protagonist. But I think this movie would do well with a prequel about the librarians and how they came up in the game,
Oh, they're the most interesting part of this
because
movie.
and there are certain lines like Angela Bassett says, she's still a librarian and we take care of ours. And I was like, oh, so you guys are a whole thing. This isn't just three women hang out in a library. Like, you are a team of assassins in some capacity. And then
Yeah,
there's the diner, which kind of works as
their own
kind of
Continental
like
type
their
of thing.
version of the Continental, except the rules are real iffy, because it seems to be an established rule that you can't bring guns in there. But every time Lena Headey is in that diner, she shoots somebody. So I have to work on that. But yeah, I would definitely love a prequel about the librarians. And that would give them more time to have more fleshed out characters. Michelle Yeoh is fantastic, but I really don't know her character's personality other than I'm good at fighting And
I
I'm not as sweet as Carla Gugino, but not as rough as Angela Bassett. I'm
yeah,
somewhere in
I'm
the
like
middle.
mid. Yeah, I have a question for you. I want to know if I was the only one who caught
Mm.
this little whatever was going on. Were Michelle Yeoh and Carla Gugino supposed to be a couple? Was that supposed to be some vague
Kayla
thing
and I
that
were
they had put
wondering the
in
same
there?
thing.
Okay, cool.
We
Because
weren't sure. We felt like someone is in a relationship in this group of women. We don't know. There were a couple like long looks and slow goodbyes,
polyamory,
but
maybe? I don't know.
it's hard to tell. But yeah, because you get that with Carla and Michelle. Their characters' names are Madeline and Florence for those who want us to use character names.
Sorry,
And
guys.
then Angela Bassett kind of has, and this might have just been Kayla looking into things the way that people do sometimes, a jilted ex vibe with Lena Headey, as she
Oh,
is the most upset with her for leaving and she's real mad. But also, speaking of character names, Angela Bassett's name is Anna May.
it
And
is.
I think that's hilarious for reasons
Why?
I will explain to all of our viewers who may not be as ingrained with Black culture. There's a movie called What's Love Got to Do with It? Came
Oh
out in the
no.
90s.
Yeah.
Angela Bassett plays Tina Turner, whose
AKA.
birth name was Anna May. And there's a famous scene where Lawrence Fishburne, playing Ike Turner, who we all know was terrible, is trying to force her to eat
Eat
cake.
the
So you
cake.
get the
Eat
iconic
the cake
line,
anime.
eat the cake, Anna May. So when
Oh, it's
Angela
horrible.
Bassett came on and they called her Anna May, I was wait. I was like, she played Tina Turner, right? And then I looked at, I was like, she's Anna May again?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, she is.
I thought was hilarious. But for all the viewers who might not know that, especially if you're not Black, because that's just part of our thing. If you've seen, there's a meme of Lawrence Fishburne and he's turning around like he wants to hit someone and he has this like Asian school child haircut. So if you've seen that meme, that's from that movie. Colin, you look confused.
I am confused.
Okay, I'll find it and show it to you. But yes, anime. It has to be a reference.
It
I don't
has
know why
to.
else they would name her character anime, but I thought that was hilarious. What were we talking about?
We were talking about whether or not this movie was gay or not because they were being very vague and subtle
Oh,
about it, and it probably was.
out of all these women, somebody is
I'm sure it was
somebody
Florence
has
and
done something
Madeline.
with
I
somebody.
was I was very certain about that, but also I was like, why is this
One
so
of
vague?
them, yeah. Somebody has tasted somebody's milkshake in that group.
That's a way to put it.
You have to make at least one milkshake joke. Colin, don't look at me like that.
The last thing I want to say on this film is like visually,
Mm.
like it fits in with that new neon trend that's become popular with action movies like John Wick and Atomic Blonde.
Yes, it looked very dope.
Yeah, the action scenes are like really cool. The first one in the bowling alley seems to play with like the frame rate a little bit, or like they've like cut frames out of the
Mm.
fighting because it looked really like not the movement didn't look natural and it looked like a lot faster than it's supposed to move. I don't know how to explain it. I just could
Okay.
tell that it was like I was like, this isn't natural movement and this isn't the natural frame rate of a camera. So you've done something to this to make it look different. But that's pretty cool. But like the best action sequence is the library one. Like hands down the library scene. The best part of this movie is Lena Headey's guns with the knives attached to it because oh my gosh, that's so cool.
There are some interesting. Just going back to everything you said, I do love the bowling alley scene for the look of it mostly. The library scene is super dope. I feel like that one is kind of, in a sense, the one that the movie wants you to feel like is the best because
That
it's
was the
the
one that was
build up, it's
promoted.
the longest. Right, everyone is a part of it. They have a little bit of everything. Michelle Yeoh fights with change, which I thought was awesome. That's always really cool to me. Carla Gugino, the big ass gun. But the dentist scene, it's not my favorite fight scene, but I think it's the most creative because
It
of the
is.
way that Karen Gillan has to fight
Yeah.
and just everything gearing up to that scene. It's very dope. I was like, okay, y'all got some.
I also do like the one in the diner at the end of the movie.
Oh, the one that was all slow motion. People keep getting kicked out of windows.
It's not a very long
Yeah,
sequence, but I did really enjoy that one.
it was a fun one. It like built into the madness of the movie very well.
It almost was like a Zack Snyder sequence.
Yeah, I was like, okay, we're doing the slow motion. Angela Bassett is slamming some dude's head down on a milkshake and just loving it.
Yeah.
We haven't talked enough about Chloe Coleman. I think that little girl is adorable,
I love
but
her.
also Emily is her name. Is
Yeah,
she
that's the
Emily?
character's name.
Okay, so Emily is super cute, but she also has a surprising amount of agency and competence for a child her
Yes.
age in this kind of movie.
Yeah, the parking
Because
lot
mostly
scene.
it's
I forgot
just
about the parking lot scene. That's a great scene too.
yes, when she has to do all stuff like that. She's a little naive in terms of I want to stay with you. And Karen Gillan's like, no, you're gonna die. But you know, she's a kid. She has agency. She has competence. She's about her business. But also, one of the interactions between her and Sam is one of my favorites because I love the fact that someone finally addressed that the protagonists in these movies are serial killers.
Yeah.
Despite Sam's objections, you don't have to have a compulsion to be a serial killer. It just refers to the amount of killings and the fact that they happen at separate events and times. So, Sam, John Wick, Black Widow, Captain America, Zack Snyder's Batman, Dom from Fast and Furious, all these people are serial killers. And the fact that an action movie finally addressed it, she was like, "Are you a serial killer?" It's like, I don't, what? Well, you've killed more than 2 people. Like,
That was
yes.
the moment where I felt like Karen Gillan's acting started to become more like natural. Was when she was asked if she was a serial killer, which I find to be
Yeah.
fascinating.
I feel like, yeah, maybe she's been asked that before. I don't know.
I feel like that's finally the moment where Sam is being questioned about her own humanity, so she starts letting her humanity show, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a fun time. Also, Colin, this is the
Hmm.
meme I was talking about. Can you see it? You seen that meme?
Oh,
Yeah, that's Ike
yes.
Turner.
I thought that was just a weird Photoshop.
No, that's from a movie.
That's that's from What's Love Got to Do with It?
That is
It's Ike Turner.
unfortunate.
Yes,
All
and
right.
that's where the name anime comes from. I mean, it comes from real life because that was her real name.
We should move on to the next movie, which is Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Yes, everybody get up! It's time to slam now. The song's not in the movie. I really wish it was.
Is it not
It's
in the
not,
movie?
right?
I could have sworn
It's
that it was
not.
sampled
No,
for
it's
another
not.
I
song.
was waiting for it. I don't. They sample what's Pump Up the Jam
That's
for a
right.
new song.
That's sorry, you're right. They sampled Pump
Pump
Up the
Up
Jam.
the Jam. Colin,
Me.
you ready to stop? Say no.
No.
You want to know why?
Why?
Say why. Cause it's the Slam Jam. All right.
Give us the info on this one, Dallas.
Space Jam: A New Legacy. Directed by Malcolm D. Lee, who directed The Best Man, Undercover Brother, Girls Trip, so many things, many of them black. He's great. It was written by everybody and their mama. Oh my God, there's so many writers on this movie. Jewel Taylor, Tony Rettenmeyer, Keenan Coogler, Terrence Nance, Jesse Gordon, Celeste Ballard. All have writing credits. They all wrote this movie. It's a whole gang of them. Like, that's 6 people?
Yeah, there's like
Yeah,
6
starting
people.
5 and a sub. Like, y'all could have played against the Looney Tunes with just the writers of this team. There's more of them than there are Monstars.
I think there were like 5 people
Anyway.
that were given a story credit on top of that.
Yeah, because I know everybody who did the first one, it has like, story credit based on their work. So it's a gang of them. Starring LeBron James, Don Cheadle, Jeff Bergman, Eric Bauza, and Zendaya. There's also a bunch of other actors, but I don't know where to stop myself if I just keep listing everyone.
That's a
Shout
lot of
out to
people.
Sonequa Martin Green.
Yay.
Yes. IMDb summary. Also, shout out to Chris Davis, who plays Tracy on Atlanta. We saw you. Did you guys notice him?
No.
No, I did
Tracy,
not.
yeah, he's LeBron's friend, Malik.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
he
did
didn't
not
have a
know that.
do-rag on, so you might not recognize him. Yeah.
That makes
He
sense.
wasn't letting them bite. Anyway, IMDb summary says a rogue artificial intelligence kidnaps the son of famed basketball player LeBron James, who then has to work with Bugs Bunny to win a basketball game. Colin,
Me.
you didn't see the last 2 things because you hate women, so we're going to let you start us off with Space Jam. What do you think? Take your time.
Jesus.
Why do you do this?
It's
For the
funny to me.
record, I don't hate women.
Oh,
Should have made that clear somewhere in here, you know.
yeah, we've been at this for half an hour. You haven't told us that yet.
You know, just needed a moment.
Got it.
Fuck, this movie sucks. Like, oh my god. Like, I watched it with my boyfriend, and at the end of it, like, we looked at each other, and he was like, "That's 2 hours I'm not getting back." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry." Like, I have apologized to him multiple times for making him watch it. It was like, okay, obviously it was gonna be this huge corporate thing because it's WB, but ugh, gross. And like, I don't know. It just wasn't. I didn't like it. It wasn't really funny. It was mostly just like a showcase of look at how much WB owns, and it was just like, why have you done this?
All right, well, I'm going to stop you there. To me,
What up?
general, did you like it question.
I liked it. I had fun. I had a lot of fun watching this one. It feels less silly than the first one, but I feel like its
Interesting.
emotional moments are definitely much easier to take seriously.
Yeah, are you referring to that woman attacking Charles Barkley on the basketball court in the first one?
Yeah, I
And
am.
how you couldn't take that seriously?
I
Be
really
gone,
am.
wanna be.
Can't take that seriously. But the dramatic moments in this one, I'm like, all right, at least I can take this one seriously a little bit.
Fair.
Dallas, your thought?
Yes, I agree with Demi. I liked the movie. It was a fun time. I didn't take a lot of it too seriously, but yeah, the moments where things were more grounded, the family moments, you have to get into what your son is into. I get it. That's more it felt like there was more. Well, never mind. I don't want to just compare it to the first one. But I do want to clarify something I said in our last episode. When I called Space Jam A Tale as Old as Time, I was mostly joking. But I was also kind of talking about the fact that it's basically Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven, and A Bug's Life, in which the
Yeah.
tunes are the ants slash villagers, the monstars are the grasshoppers slash bandits, and Michael Jordan is the circus bugs slash samurai. But I just didn't say all that last time because it was funnier to just say it's a tale of as old as time and leave you with that nonsense. As far as this one goes, I like that they didn't just do the Sandlot 2 thing or the Hangover 2 thing where they just do the same plot and change the characters or setting a little bit. It's very similar,
I was
obviously.
going to say it's really similar, but at least there are other details that are different.
Yeah, there are tweaks in it. It's not just like someone is, oh my God, someone's after Looney Tunes again. We have to get a basketball player. Well, we can't get Michael Jordan, so let's get LeBron. Like, we have to deal with,
They reverse it instead
first
of
of all, the algorithm. Yeah, he goes to LeBron first, and then LeBron has to find a team. And the Looney Tunes aren't even the team he wants,
no.
but it's the team he ends up with because of another story that's going on with Bugs. Like, now we have kind of two concurrent stories going on, one with LeBron trying to do this thing and then Bugs trying to do this other thing, but he figures I can use LeBron to help me, which I didn't like Bugs as much as I did in the last one. I feel like he doesn't get as much shine. Like, I feel like this movie's more about LeBron
Yeah.
than the last one was about Michael Jordan. Like, the last one felt like it was about the Looney Tunes and they brought in Michael Jordan to be their ringer, kind of. But this one feels like it's all about LeBron, and the Looney Tunes are kind of just, they're there because they need to be, because you need a group of people to play basketball with, which I like LeBron. He's funny, he's charismatic, so I don't mind it. And like Demi said, it gave us more of those family or more of those emotional
Human
moments.
moments.
Yeah, because Michael Jordan has a whole ass family in the beginning. We don't know or care anything about them really. But in this one, this story is about LeBron and his son at the core of it. And he has to deal with that as a course of the movie. It's not just basketball. We have to win because basketball. It's I have to get through this whole situation with my son. And as someone who, when I was a kid, played basketball and was coached by my dad, who in his youth played basketball and was better than I ever was, I can
Oof.
relate. Unfortunately, I didn't know how to make a computer when I was like 11 or whatever the hell Dom does in this movie.
Yeah, he just makes video games.
He made a video game. He's like 12. Like,
he coded that whole thing, like, bruh.
right, I could barely customize a MySpace page when I was 14. So it resonates on that level. And yeah,
yeah.
I enjoyed it. The
Yeah.
first one, like this one is obviously it's an advertisement for Warner Brothers. But the
Yeah, that
first
got
one is an
annoying.
advertisement for Michael Jordan and Looney Tunes.
That's kind of fair.
But I like the referential stuff. I like the Lego movie. I like Ready Player One for the most part.
I like
So
referential stuff when it
I don't mind
really
it.
feels like it fits into the story. For this one, it was like sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't.
Mhm.
When Bugs is going to get Daffy and they end up in like the DC superhero world, that sequence is
Mhm.
great. I love that sequence. That's awesome.
Interesting.
But then they go pick up people from like Casablanca and like other random WB movies that first off no child should have seen at all. So like why is this the reference you decided to make in a movie that's mostly going to be watched by families? So kids are not going to understand this reference. The Wonder Woman one, yeah, it's recent, it works. But some of them I was like,
Right.
this was the reference you decided to make? This was the choice? It was interesting.
Yeah. And to go on the other side of that, I do always appreciate references that are made for the parents who have to watch these movies with their kids. let's not forget that last week we talked about the Pulp Fiction reference in the first Space Jam movie.
That's true. But the thing is, I feel like the Pulp Fiction reference, it doesn't last as long as these other references seem to.
Right, it's a little like, oh, ha. They're dressed like
Yeah, hey, look,
Pulp Fiction.
that's
And then
funny.
moving
And
on.
then we're on to the next thing. The Casablanca one, it's short, but it's still its own scene, kind of. So it's like, wait,
Mm.
what? But I did enjoy watching the movie. I was like, yeah, some of these references are definitely for adults and not for kids. I thought LeBron James does a decent job of playing a version of himself.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen LeBron act before.
Oh, he's funny. He was
Yeah.
good in Trainwreck. Yeah, he's funny.
I thought the Looney Tunes were awesome, especially when we get to see them, like, go wild and do what we know them for. See, I was just saying making references to things that only adults know. But when, like, the Looney Tunes are making references to old cartoons that they're famous for, I think that's hilarious. When they do the duck season, rabbit
Yeah.
season, I'm like, "That's great. That's fantastic."
Mm-hmm.
Like, this works for me a little bit more than making a Casablanca reference. I think Don Cheadle
Fair.
is just awesome as Algae Rhythm.
He
He's
went
so
for
good.
it completely, and I loved it.
Like, I'm like, "Why are you so good at this right now? You don't have to be this good for this movie." But he did it. He went all in, and I appreciate him for that because I thought he was a great villain. And then I gotta shout out Sonequa Martin Green because she is the embodiment of a Black mom every time she is on screen.
I loved her so much. She was fantastic.
She was great. I was like, "Ah, yes, that is a Black mom."
She was like, when she was yelling, Dom! Mom, I don't think he can hear you. I'm his mother. He better hear me.
That
It's like,
line
that
especially.
doesn't work.
Oh my gosh.
She was fantastic.
She was great, and I kinda wish that there was more of her, but, like, the movie's not about that character. One of the things that I did really enjoy was, like, the video game aspect and how it plays into this film and how it makes it
Mm-hmm.
different than the last one. I thought there were a lot of fun payoffs with that. I liked the design of the serververse, especially during the basketball game. That's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, like when they do like power-ups and style points and stuff like that, and giving the Looney Tunes really a reason to be the Looney Tunes. I thought that was really like a good idea for this film.
It was interesting. So the video game aspects of the game, for me, was kind of bittersweet because on one hand, yes, this is a cartoon. Go as crazy as you want. Make it wild. I'm about it. I love the creativity. On the other hand, one, I have a love for sports movies. I'm biased. So when you take a sport movie and then basically take all of the structure out of the featured sport, this isn't a basketball movie,
You
really.
are
It's more of a
LeBron in
video
this
game
movie.
movie. Yeah, like we're not playing because in the last one, it's like they have to beat this team in basketball. They're all gonna assault each other the whole time, but at the end of the day, whoever puts the ball in the basket more wins. But in this one, it's not even they have to be better at basketball or just get the ball in the court more. It's just whatever decides to happen. Like there's a certain point when I think they shoot it and then they get like 300 points or something. It was ridiculous. It's like, yo. And then Don Cheadle just, of course, they're all cheating, but the way he cheats toward the end is like, all right, come on, why are we even here? Like, why are we playing basketball if this is what you're gonna do, Don Cheadle?
I liked
That's
it.
not even.
I really
What's the
liked
point of that?
that because the last movie it was like it was the same thing. It was like the tunes can only win by being tunes. And then this
Right.
movie kinda does the reverse of that, but also kinda not because the tunes still can only win by being tunes.
Yeah. But then also, there's a point when Porky raps,
Oh my gosh,
and
it was great. I'm sorry.
he was better than
Hilarious.
expected. But also, they get points for it.
Yes,
Like, yo, you weren't even holding a basketball when that happened. Like, why? Why are you getting points for this?
because we can.
But it was fun. Like when they changed the beat. I can't remember what instrumental was playing. I'm sorry, hip hop fans. But yeah, it was just a moment of fun nonsense, and that's what the movie is, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but I don't have much else to say except that there is a very funny cameo in this movie that I loved and should have expected and somehow still didn't expect it.
That was fantastic.
It was
Everything about
great.
that build up. They even had the music from when the Bulls would come out. It was great. But before we leave, I do want to say one thing about this movie and its, I guess, animatedness. I enjoy watching movies with a bunch of A-list movie stars, and in recent years, animated movies have started to adapt that more. But it always makes me happy to see voice actors getting shine in big movies.
Yeah.
So shout out to Jeff Bergman, Eric Bauza, Bob Bergen, Candy Milo, Fred Tatasciore, Jim Cummings, all of the voice actors who have been doing voice work for decades. In some cases, some of them are more recent, but they've been on hundreds of shows and movies, and they don't really get a chance to get on a big stage like this because a lot of times a big studio, when they have an animated movie, will just who's popular right now and they'll take them. And that's no slight to any actors who do those roles. Like shout out to the Zendaya, she's great and I love her.
And Gabriel Iglesias.
Yeah, also great. But it's just voice actors, they're kind of in this other category in terms of acting, and they don't really ever get the shine that a lot of the other actors get. And that's part of the reason why I was so disappointed that Kath Soucie didn't come back to play Lola Bunny. But I discussed that enough last week. So
check out that
shout out to
episode if you
Zendaya.
want to hear more about that.
True. And you can find out Gabby's thoughts on Lola Bunny. They are interesting. But shout out to Zendaya. You were an amazing Lola. And I'm glad that we have both versions. Also, the soundtrack slaps. Not as much as the first one, but it still got some heat on it.
So, last review on our list, Loki.
Loki. Yes, it was created by Michael Waldron, who is a writer for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So look out for that in like a year. All episodes were directed by Kate Herron, or Heron, however British people say that word. And she wrote some episodes of Sex Education, which is a show that Demi likes.
Hey, I didn't know that.
And yeah, surprise, surprise. The TV show stars Tom Hiddleston, Sophia DiMartino, Owen Wilson, Gugulathu Mbatha-Raw, and
We
Tara
don't call her
Strong
by
as
her
Miss
full
Minutes. I love you,
government
Tara
name.
Strong. Gugulathu Mbatha-Raw. Every time.
Mbatha-Raw.
IMDb summary. IMDb summary says the mercurial villain Loki resumes his role as the god of mischief in a new series that takes place after the events of Avengers Endgame. Colin.
I mean, I guess that's a summary. Like,
I mean, it's a new series that takes place after Endgame. He's Loki.
That's the same type of description we got for Black Widow. So, like, that's just what they're doing
I
now.
guess
they do.
MCU summaries are just this movie takes place here. This person's in it. It's a movie. Or in this case, it's a new series.
Have fun.
Yes. Colin, you hate women and Space Jam. So
Oh my
lead us
gosh.
into Loki because you haven't said a lot.
Holy shit. I don't hate women and I don't hate Space Jam.
Fair.
But he did not like
Women
the
are
sequel
great.
to Space Jam.
The first Space Jam is fine. Second one
Okay.
sucks.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification. But Loki,
Yes.
what do you think?
I'm still trying to figure it out. I think overall, it's probably my favorite of the Marvel shows so far.
Interesting.
The last episode kind of threw me for a loop and not in a good way.
I'm glad
But
somebody feels that
leading
way.
up to that, like the first 5, super my shit. So overall, yeah, I think I liked it. I will continue to watch it, probably.
That's so funny.
All right.
Because me and Dallas
Demi.
have completely opposite opinions of that. I'm glad somebody else has that opinion,
Yeah.
though, on the podcast. I liked it. I was not
Mhm.
as invested. It's not my favorite Marvel show, but I still thought it was a good show. I was never bored while watching it, that's for sure.
Mm.
But I found every character outside of Loki to be more interesting to follow than Loki himself. It also
Interesting.
probably does not help that this movie came out in like my
Show.
Black Widow craze. It's probably not helpful. My brain cannot handle any other Marvel character at this point in time. But like I said, I thought it was good. The last episode is when the show finally actually grabbed my full attention. I can't really discuss that too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the first like 2 episodes, I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally into this. And then episodes 3 through 5, I was like, I'm into it, but I'm not in a rush to watch all the new episodes. And I can't explain
that's
why.
how I was feeling. The first 4.5, maybe. Like the first 4 to 4.5 episodes, I watched it and I thought, I like this show enough to keep going, but I'm not excited about the new episodes coming out. So it was cool. It is my least favorite of the 3 new Marvel shows, but I don't think it's bad. There were times when I was bored, but I never thought this is a bad show. And then the last 2 episodes, I thought, oh, this is a good show. I'm enjoying this a lot. And then the finale, I was into it. But that's mostly because of one
Right?
performance
Just one performance.
by one actor who just came in and
Danced
killed it.
circles
So
around
shout
everybody.
out to that actor.
See, I wish we could talk about that because that was
Me too.
probably my least favorite part of the show.
That
Like,
makes
I
sense.
did
We're
not like
opposites
that
in a lot of things.
performance at all. Like, not because I don't think the actor's talented. The actor is, but that performance was just annoying to me. Like that
Oh,
character and the way they were performed was just like, I would be perfectly fine if I never saw you again.
You
I
probably
mean,
won't.
you won't.
Not that version,
Well,
at least.
yes and no. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I loved that performance. We can't talk too much about it. I loved that
Yeah.
performance, and I didn't think that it was actually going to happen. And, like, here's the thing. I don't like to be the person who only likes an MCU project based on whatever they're trying to tease at for the future. And, like,
Mm,
most of my
interesting.
intrigue for this show actually comes from the tease for the future show. Like, that, like, actually annoys me that that's what happened with this show for
See,
me,
and that's
because I don't wanna be that person. I don't want the MCU, everything that I'm watching to have to depend on what comes next. I wanna be able to enjoy what I'm watching right in that moment.
See, that's interesting to me because for me, it's the complete opposite where when this show was completely focused on itself and the mystery was what's going on in this show, I was like, this is fantastic. And the last episode happened, and I was like, all right, it's an MCU property. This whole last episode is pretty much just a tease for what's coming next, and I don't care about what's coming next. So it lost me there.
Well, that's why I didn't like the fact that I
That
only
makes
liked
sense.
it for the tease. I don't wanna like it just for the tease. Well, I mean, I don't only like the show for the tease, but that was the main thing that grabbed my attention about the show, was what they were teasing for the
Mhm.
future. And most other MCU projects don't have to do that for me. Usually, I'm just locked in from the beginning.
Right. So
Hmm.
when they get to the inevitable, look out for next time, you're already invested in it.
Yeah, this time I
Usually.
wasn't as invested in it until we got to the end.
Yeah. I was invested in Mobius the whole time. Shout out to Owen Wilson. He was great.
He's great. I do love
Hold on.
Mobius.
If we're bringing that up, though,
Mhm.
it's not that he wasn't great because he
Oh, okay.
was,
Did you wanna hear
but
see hear
he
do you
did
wanna hear him say,
not.
"Wow"?
Yes, he didn't say wow, not once.
Wow. And there were so many things that could have wowed him in this show. You'd think he would
Oh,
have
there were
said it.
so many because my boyfriend and I, we were going back and forth, like, every time he would say something like it, like, "How are we gonna do that?" Like, we would just be like, "How?" He didn't say wow. He got so
Wow.
close.
The showrunner said, like, at the beginning of the series that he wasn't gonna say it at any point during the season, so I knew that that was coming. No, I thought Owen Wilson as Mobius was, like, great and was super interesting, and I really wanted to dive more into his character space and his history. I wanted to know so much about Mobius. I wanted to know about the TVA more. Not just who's in charge
Mm.
of the TVA, but, like, more about how the TVA works and functions and the people who
See,
work for
that
it. That's what was
yeah,
interesting
that's
to me.
something that one of my problems with the show is that it builds to a certain point, like in episode 4, where I'm like, "Oh, this is exactly my shit. I love this." And then it kind of pivots into, we're not gonna focus on that. We're gonna focus on a specific person, and that's
Yeah.
what
Mm.
we're going after. And I was like, that is way less interesting to me.
Yeah, I was like, I'm
Hmm.
interested in the organization, the corporation that all of
Yeah.
this. It reminded me of when me and Colin were watching Westworld. When we were watching Westworld, and I was
Mm.
far more
Mhm,
interested
mhm,
in watching the park just go to hell than I was watching the robots become people. Like, I was like, that's
mhm.
cool, but I just want to watch the park. That's kind of how I felt about Loki, where I was like, I just want to watch the TVA stuff. I want to watch the TVA travel through time and do their TVA stuff. I want to learn how this works and why these characters do what they do. What's their motivation? Why does Mobius love his job so much? I care about Mobius, guys. I just want to know
Yeah,
more
it's
about
interesting.
Mobius.
I do. I love Mobius. Outside of Mobius and Miss Minutes, because I love you, Miss Minutes, because I love you, Tara Strong.
She's a villain.
Yeah, but she's Tara Strong, so I have to love her. I
Hey,
I
y'all.
don't care about oh, she was so sweet. I don't care about the TVA very much, and I feel like that's why this show doesn't generally do it for me. Once we got more reveals about the TVA in terms of some of the
Their
truths
morality.
about it, I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." I feel like I would like to learn more about that. The general TVA itself, and I'm not really generally a huge fan of timey-wimey, time turnery
Mhm.
plot points in
Me and
general.
Colin are. We are Doctor
Sometimes they
Who,
work
Who
for me.
fans.
Yeah. I don't really dig on that most of the time. Once we got past a certain point, when it's not just, oh, yes, we're an agency and we do time and blah, blah, blah. It was peeling back the layers and all this other stuff that I can't say. Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. That stuff got interesting.
I will say this. You make a good point. I think for me, I was more interested in, okay, here are all the secrets that we're unveiling about the TVA. I don't care how that impacts Loki. I care about how that impacts people like Mobius and
Mhm.
Ravonna and
Mhm.
Hunter B-15, because these are the people who have been working here the whole time. So I was more interested in their reactions to that than I was to his, because he just got here.
Yeah. And that was what I thought the show was going to be about to the end. And I think that's why the last episode lost me, was because the last episode was not that at all. Like, we completely let that go away and we were doing this other thing. And that
Yeah.
felt like we're just doing this to set up what comes next and to set up some other stuff. But that sort of lost the point of this show in the process for me.
I feel you. Like they took a turn. Like, oh, okay, we're getting into. Oh, we're not getting into. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. Just watch Loki and Sylvie go do
But
this thing.
at the same time, though, the end of this does imply that they might get back to that stuff.
Yes.
So that I'm interested in.
That's why I'm super interested in what's going to happen next, because I'm like, cool, how does this impact these people?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Mobius, super charming, and I had a lot of sympathy for him. Mobius is great. Tom Hiddleston is great as Loki, as he always is. That's not a surprise. Like I feel like Tom Hiddleston himself plays a large role into why the character of Loki has been working and has been popular for the last 10 years. That's why there's a show, is because of Tom Hiddleston. I thought Sophia
I could see
DiMartino
that.
was doing a good job as Sylvie. I think she and Tom play off each other really well. And I think her storyline will be much more interesting from here on out, now that she's gotten what she wants. Because what happens after you get what you want? After you've wanted something for your whole life?
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. And then Ravonna Renslayer. I've talked about my liking of gray morality characters, and she fits right in there. I really want to understand her, because she does rest in that area. And also, like, her and Mobius's friendship, like, is really intriguing to me. That was like a real genuine relationship. Like, I'm interested in how that moves forward, if it moves forward at all. Yeah, I came to the realization of why the less than morally savory characters appeal to me.
Interesting.
We love superheroes because we like to see how strong they are in order to stay good. The morally gray characters or the bad characters, it's always a question of why are you bad? And I'm always interested in the why. I'm like, yeah, I get it. To be a superhero, you got to be super strong. You got to be strong of will. I got it. But like the morally gray characters, I'm like, why? Why are you here? Why would you do this? Because I could never do that.
Interesting.
That's what intrigues me as a person.
That makes sense. You should watch Mindhunter on Netflix.
One day. I keep hearing about it, so one day.
I don't actually think you should watch it. It would ruin you.
I can't mention the other thing that I actually have written in my notes, because that's a spoiler
Dang it.
for Renslayer.
That's the worst.
But I'm looking forward to the thing that I have written in my note that I'll tell you afterwards. Also,
Okay.
I love seeing Winmi Masako just thriving. Just love seeing her in things.
Honestly, yes.
There's not enough of her on this show. Just not enough.
I'm gonna, how to say, capitulate to Dallas. And I will say that to me, I know you're not a horror fan, but His House is a really good movie. And she's all over it, obviously.
Yeah, she's like a lead, right?
So like, yeah, it's her and, you know, the husband, and like there are other characters, but it's mostly about them.
Man, she's so
And they're
great.
both great.
As
And you
Hunter
should watch it.
B-15, man. She's so great. And just so watching Loki for me, and I feel like the last episode was even more emphasis of this, but watching Loki for me was like, I'm rooting for everybody black. Yep. That meme, the entire show. I was like, I'm here for Hunter B-15, and I'm here for Ravonna, and I'm here for this last episode. Yep. That's absolutely what my experience was like.
Yeah, pour one out for certain characters who could have made it and then didn't.
Yeah. Shout out to Spoiler Redacted.
Spoiler redacted. I wanted more of her. I actually wanted more of her and Loki interacting with one another, because their dynamic was really fun.
I felt like I wish their dynamic would have gone a bit, let's just say deeper, because I can't think of a better word. But there wasn't a whole lot to it. And I wanted there to be more, because it's just, you're Loki. I don't trust you. I'm no nonsense. I kind of want to kill you. And Loki's, I don't want you to kill me. Please don't kill me.
When we get towards the end, there was definitely a chance for that to change because of the events in question, but they never actually touch on it.
Right. The whole time I'm waiting for Woonmi to really wow me the way she did in Lovecraft Country, because she had so much more to do in that show.
She's great.
And
on
this one,
show.
I'm just thinking, this is a great actress who has great potential. And for me, she wasn't meeting all of it in the show just because her character wasn't getting a whole lot to do. But then once they do that thing with her and Sylvie, I thought, ooh, now we're
Yeah.
getting somewhere.
The scene of them in the rain, ooh, such a good scene.
So I was watching it with Jordan, and both of us were, let's say, irritated at the way they decided to do that scene, only because Sylvia's obviously showing her something.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for us to get to see what she
Oh,
was
for us to
showing her.
see what it was? Yeah.
And Jordan and I were both sitting there just looking at Wunmi being shown something.
It is a very long pause
And
of
we're just like,
silence.
what are you, are we going to see it? No. Oh, we're not going to see it.
No.
Okay. That
But-
was longer than it needed to be for you to not transition into the next thing.
Yeah, but Wunmi's performance in that scene, though, is very good because she does have to do
Great
quite
acting.
the emotional switch on that.
Yeah, great acting. Just as a, it's like, oh, okay. She saw something. I bet it was powerful. I'll take your word for it, Marvel.
You don't
'cause
need
I
to
don't
know what it was.
Right? Like, oh, you guys just didn't want to think of what to do or film it or whatever. It's fine.
Man. I will say this, I do love the visuals on the show. I thought the design of the TVA was very well done. It's like an interesting mix of like old school and anachronistic stuff.
This is where I would plug that if you're interested in that, you should play the Portal games because it seems like they took a ton of inspiration from those games.
Oh, really?
Like the design and some of the signage, like some of the signage is like straight out of Portal. You should play those.
I liked the tech in the TVA. Like the first episode when we're just doing the theater viewing of Loki's life, I was like, this is a really cool concept. I like this stuff. This is really dope.
Portal, Colin. Is that
Yes.
the Cake is a Lie anime? Is that?
What anime? What?
No, the Cake is a Lie. Is that the thing from Portal?
Yes. That's from
Okay.
the first one.
I just put anime on the end of it because what's love got to do with it? But those things aren't mixed together.
Oh.
Oh, anime.
I see.
To me,
as in-
continue.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I
you
hate
said
how much
anime,
that
I'm
name
like,
sounds like anime because
Yeah.
you have to anime, but it sounds like anime. And it's,
See, then it sounds like you're
Uh,
saying anime, but trying to be pretentious.
Yeah.
right. Anime, not anime.
Oh
It's
man.
anime, not
Oh, but I was gonna say I like the I like the color grade on the TVA as well because it's so just drab and so like corporate office feeling.
Yeah.
But then I also
Mhm.
thought that the
I
look of
hated
the
it.
that's why I loved it though because it gave the feeling and it gave the perfect
Yeah.
vibe to where you are. And I also
They
thought
did a
that
great job.
I thought the cosmic stuff looked great, especially Lamentis
Mhm.
and the Citadel. Like those looked amazing.
The Citadel I
Mhm.
loved, like especially because it was a thing in space that still managed to look old, which we don't usually. If something
Yeah.
in space, it looks futuristic, and I like that this wasn't that.
I feel that. Audience, I'm letting you know now. Next week we are definitely dropping the non-spoileriness because I
Are
have
we?
things that I have things about this show that I'm gonna want to mention next week.
Wait,
What are we talking about next week?
Next week is our fan cast.
Okay. You're gonna tie it into this?
Yeah, this is gonna be brought up as
Okay.
a reference for something that I have fan cast. So
Got it. All right, good to know. Audience, watch this show by next week.
if not, just I will give a spoiler alert before I do it, I guess. But just saying, like
Yeah, this is definitely one of those. It's super frustrating to talk about, to talk around spoilers.
that's how
Yes.
me and Dallas feel about just about any Marvel property that we end up reviewing because we're just like, yeah, and I can't spoil that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's much worse for this one in particular because the reasons that the show interests me and the reasons I want to watch season 2 are all spoilers.
Well, speaking
all
of
that last
that,
episode.
let's move into our news section, which is that Loki is in fact
What
getting
a
a season
segue.
2.
Mm.
Thank you. It is the first
Yeah.
Disney Plus Marvel show to get a season 2. The other ones are miniseries. Kate Herron, who was, as we said, was the director for the entire series, will not be returning.
Which I guess she planned.
Yeah, she
I
she
think-
said that she wasn't planning on ever coming back
Right.
for anything after season 1.
Bit of a shame, but it's okay.
She did what she wanted. She did her thing. She did it well, and
And she got out. Like,
and she
I
got out.
respect that. She's gonna do other stuff.
She's gonna do what she wants to do now. She did a Marvel property, and that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing. So Loki, like
Mhm.
I said, I liked it. I think it's a good show. It's not the one that I've been most intrigued by in the Marvel universe so far, but I am really looking forward to season 2 and seeing where it goes because now I think we can dive into things that I was really interested in.
Mm-hmm. See, what I'm hoping is that the last episode of this season was doing what it needed to do to set up other Marvel stuff, and now that it did that, the show can go back to being about like more of the TVA stuff. Because if that's what season 2 is, I am 100% on board.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. I do feel like, spoiler redacted, definitely did lead up to what we need. So I feel like, given where we're going, that was enough that we don't need to pave that road anymore.
Mhm.
So I do think they can go back to that.
I do feel like spoiler redacted will also or could also play a really interesting role in how season 2 goes as well, because of how the end of season 1 left off.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a specific thing right at the end of the last episode that makes me think that spoiler redacted will play a role, but we'll
I
see.
like this. Let's
Definitely.
just keep calling them spoiler redacted.
I'm going to do that forever now. Whenever there's something I want to say that's a spoiler, it's going to say
Spoiler
We
spoiler
need
redacted.
a beep, like you know how they bleep curse words? We need one of those.
Oh, I have one.
Yeah.
I usually only
Yeah.
use it for
Oh, I have
bad
one.
words depending on when we need it used.
Do we bleep out bad words?
We used to.
Oh, back in the day.
And also I think we bleep out the ones that happen within the first minute of the podcast.
Oh yeah, because that's a YouTube thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am interested to see where the show goes. Like, we got a lot into Loki and Sylvie's psyche, have fun with your self-love, but I really want to get into the thought processes of the other characters on the show.
Moving on.
Moving on, we can move on to the next news piece, which is that Hulu has released the Reservation Dogs trailer, and man, does that look like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it does.
I agree. I didn't know. I guess I knew that Taika made the show or produced it or something.
He's a producer
Produced
on
it,
the
I
show,
think.
yeah.
Okay.
Executive
I guess
producer.
I forgot that. So when the trailer came on, it's like a new FX comedy. I was like, oh, right. This is going to be a comedy. And it's funny looking. Like, it
Yeah.
looks funny. I think it will be funny. I think it'll be enjoyable. I'm seeing a couple familiar faces in the supporting cast,
Mm-hmm.
which I was like, oh, I've seen that person before. But FX, honestly, I don't have a list of favorite networks because,
That would be weird.
like, I feel like in today's time that would be weird. Like, you know, back when we all had TV and it was normal.
You can have your favorite, like,
FX is
apps, because that's what they all are now. They are all just apps.
But in terms of just as a network, FX has put out some of my favorite shows over the last few years. Atlanta, Dave, when I was really into Legion, that was on FX.
Yeah.
Archer, Always Sunny. They be hitting it out the park, Fargo. I think they're going to do a great job. I think the show looks really funny. It looks enjoyable. More
Yeah.
representation for more people that need it.
Woo! Native American representation. Also, though, like, outside of just, we don't usually get representation for indigenous people, I was really interested because just Taika Waititi's name automatically gets me interested in whatever, because this dude's like, he's a really great writer. He's super funny. He's a great director. And if he thinks that your project is great enough for him to put his name behind, then I'm like, yeah, it's probably going to be a really good show. I'm really interested in seeing a show that is from the perspective of a culture that is not usually represented on television. Also, my fan cast for Tommy Oliver is on the show, and I can finally watch him act. Yeah, check out our fan cast for the Power Rangers.
Nice.
But yeah, it looks super funny. The blips and the cruds or something like that, that line had me rolling.
That was real good.
That was good.
Am I the only one who went to a school growing up where we made that joke?
Yes.
I think that's just you, yeah.
Okay. It was like, oh man, I haven't heard. That's a name I've not heard in years, or whatever we want to.
I think you got that line right. Also, I feel like you're the only one who hangs out or who did hang out in a crowd of people that would have made a joke like that back in high school. Me and Colin definitely didn't.
You are the only person, no one else.
No one else. I mean, on this podcast, yes.
It was before high school, but fair. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
We were from different circles.
It's true. It's very true. All right. And the last news thing on our list is the John Wick prequel, The Continental, will now be a limited series with Albert Hughes as the lead director.
It's going to be what, 3 90-minute?
Yes,
episodes?
3 90-minute episodes.
Yes.
3 night events.
And it was originally going to be, what,
a TV series? Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
For those who don't know, Albert Hughes was the director of The Book of Eli, and he co-directed Menace to Society. And he was also a director on Good Lord Bird, which Dallas loved.
I did love that show. Shout out to him. So on one hand, I am disappointed because I thought this would be more of a series than, I guess, a 3-night event, which sounds like, you know, less. On the other hand, I'm just excited that this is still happening because I heard about it back a while back and then I didn't hear about it and I thought, oh no, what if this doesn't happen? Because the Continental
It's great.
is just such an interesting, it's so cool. Like, part of the reason I love John Wick so much is because of the world that they've built. And this is such a great indication of that world. The rules, Winston, played by Ian McShane, who's great. Lance Reddick as Sharon is a fantastic. I hope he's no, it's a prequel, right?
It's a prequel,
It's
yeah.
like back when Winston was younger.
A prequel spinoff, Continental, is set 40 years before the events of the Wick series and focuses on a young man named Winston. He will one day grow up to be the character played by Ian McShane in the Wick movies, but in the prequel story is a young man starting as a hitman hotelier who, along with others, create a haven for unsavory types, all set against the backdrop of 1970s New York.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Oh my god, I can't wait. And it sounds like exactly what I asked for with the librarians in Gunpowder Milkshake.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like the Continental for me is kind of like we were saying with Gunpowder, what they're doing with their diner.
Yeah.
The Continental feels like the blueprint for that.
Well, I feel like
And I
John Wick
just
is
want to see
just
so
the
much more.
blueprint in general for that entire movie. I feel like John Wick has become, remember when I was talking about Fast and Furious? Like, there have been plenty of movies that have tried to redo what Fast and Furious did, and they still can't seem to do it. Fast and Furious was the blueprint. John Wick is a blueprint of its own, where it's now spawning off different original action movies that are trying to be like John Wick.
Yeah. And I just want more in this world. So many interesting characters. I want to know what's the deal with all those people at what is that place called where they put in the bounties and they have like the wire board and
Oh,
everyone has really
yeah, I know
dope
what you're talking about.
tattoos with the kind of like
Yeah, like the call
a
center.
50s pinup look. Yeah. I want to know that story, the call center, everybody. Apparently they're doing a movie called The Ballerina or something, and it's about the
Yes.
Russian ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angelica
So
Houston's character and her
give me all the John Wick.
little mafia.
Give me all the John Wick content. I'm here for it. Winston's dope, and I want to know how he became so dope.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm gonna watch every night of this.
Yeah, so Albert Hughes is directing the first and third episode, and he's executive producing all three of them. A director for episode 2 has not been chosen. Derek Kolstad and Chad Stahelski are executive producing as well. They are the writer and director of the franchise in general.
Yes.
David Leitch. I never know how to pronounce his last name, but he is executive producing while Keanu Reeves is also in talks to executive produce.
Oh, that's perfect. Everybody that needs to be involved is involved, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
So I'm excited. I like the John Wick series. I think it actually gets better with every like new installment that they put out. We've got
I can see that, yeah. It gets better in a certain way. It's one of my favorite trilogies until, the fourth one comes out and it's no longer a trilogy. But in terms of like they up the ante and they get more ridiculous each time. I'm definitely down to see what they're gonna do with the next thing.
yeah. And for me, I think the
I'm about
story
it.
actually gets better with every movie that they do. But that's just me personally.
Yeah, they definitely open it up more each time. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, wow, that's something I didn't think we'd see when we were watching the movie about a dude killing somebody.
Yeah, you were talking about the world building earlier, and for me, I think that this series does world building better than a lot of movies. Like, this is a movie about assassins. I was not anticipating that there would be like actual world building involved.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, it's just a movie about one guy whose dog gets killed and he wants to kill the people responsible. And then boom, now it's a whole society of secret assassins and everybody's an assassin in New York. It's great.
It's a whole franchise. Hollywood, take notice. Just start picking up original ideas. It may be risky, but you might just get yourself a John Wick.
That's true. I mean, they've been trying. They've been trying to make some new John Wicks.
They've been trying. They're not quite as good as John Wick, though, but they're definitely trying.
They'll get there. But yes, I'm with it.
It's
I'm
like a
ready for it.
franchise of its own now, or it's like a genre of its own now.
Yeah, the John Wick action. Where is this gonna be? What network or streaming service or
Stars,
whatever?
just like Blind Spotting, made by Lionsgate and Stars.
Interesting. Gonna have to get Stars again after I cancel it when Blind Spotting ends.
Yes. Speaking of Blind Spotting, we should end this episode so that we can go off and watch the new episode of Blind Spotting.
That's true. Shout out to our best friend David. Yes, let's end it so I can go watch Blind Spotting because they didn't give us an episode last week and I was mildly depressed.
So thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, as always, thank you for listening to all of that. Crown Digital, Brandon, and Io, thank you for putting us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. To me, thank you for editing, putting us on YouTube, and doing our first review about a movie based on a Twitter thread.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
It is a new one. I'm not sure it's going to happen
new one for us.
often, but it's definitely a new one.
Yes. Colin, thank you for continuing to put the difference in creative differences by giving a perspective on everything.
Listen, I'm glad that he gave us the Loki perspective that he did because that's everybody else's perspective so far, and I felt bad that I was not agreeing.
Oh, interesting. So now we're the difference.
We are the difference. Colin is with the rest of society on Loki, and me and you were just like, that was fun.
So you could say that you and I are the minorities and Colin is not.
Ah, that's a way to put it. I mean, we've been saying a bunch of other outlandish things today, so we might as well. By the way, guys, tune in next week. We will maybe be doing a review of Snake Eyes. We haven't decided yet, but we will also be doing a fan cast Friday for Arthurian legend, aka King Arthur stuff.
Yeah, so get ready for that. I'll try to find a way to say a bunch of crazy stuff. That's what I do. But yeah, let us know. What'd you think of these movies and Loki? Do you like them? Do you hate the new Space Jam and or women like Colin?
Oh
let
my
us
God.
know. Let us know down in the comments, or you can find us on Twitter at y'all_different, Instagram and Tumblr at Creative Differences Podcast, or Facebook.com/Creative Differences PC. If you just want to talk to me about anything, we can hang out. We can talk. We're probably not going to hang out. I don't know you. Hit me up on Twitter and or Instagram at a king named Simba.
If you want to talk to me about my beliefs and how I don't hate women, because I don't, you can find me on Twitter at Duck McCock.
Dallas, you really got to stop putting false beliefs on the rest of us. And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dreamy Films. Dreamy is spelled DREEMI. Thanks again for joining us.
To me, I don't know what you're talking about with false beliefs. Everything I say is 100% true. Speaking of that, you can find Gabby on Twitter at LustinForLola. All right.
Nicely done.
Thank you. It's been different. Bye.
She shouldn't have missed this episode. Bye.